For what is probably now centuries, if not millennia, people have been trying to understand the mind of the child. At some point, kids were just seen as smaller adults with the same perception of the world, the same understanding of their own wants and needs. Of course, this isn't true and is probably a dangerous way to look at things. However, that doesn't necessarily bring us all that closer to figuring out exactly what happens in developing brains. We know more, but do we know why kids do what they do? Hell no. So when they draw upsetting and disturbing things, it freaks us out. What do they see that we don't? Where is all this coming from? It's time for the top 5 scary demons kids have drawn part 2. Coming in number 5, the Taking Boy. Already we have a terrifying label for what can only be a demon obsessed with stealing people away from their families. I, for one, will always be wary of any drawing a child creates featuring a shadowy figure that nobody else recognizes. It just screams demon, or traveler from a parallel universe, or just dark energy in general. Don't mess with it. In this particular picture, we're greeted with a cute little family portrait done up in what appears to be pencil crayon. We got mommy in pink, wearing a dress, there's daddy in green, glasses and all, and of course, Julian is in the middle, half as tall and purple for some reason. I don't know too much about color theory or how to mix paints, but I don't think pink plus green equals purple. Maybe it does, and I'm outing myself as a buffoon when it comes to color, but hey, regardless of any pigment blending here, this family photo is not what we should be focusing on. To their immediate right is a shadowy figure full of malice, the Taking Boy. No thank you. It stands out for a few reasons. Number 1 is the label. That's not a regular family name for anything. Not good. It implies that this boy likes to take. And whether that means he takes Julian's toys or his everlasting soul, we may never know. Then you've got to look at the shape of the Taking Boy. He's not a stick figure like everyone else. He's built like a gingerbread man. He's got depth. Is that muscle? Ectoplasm? Does he shapeshift between many forms, growing and changing to more effectively take what he wants? Goodness gracious, not a huge fan of that. And of course, there's his color. Everyone else is done up in bright, fun colors. The Taking Boy? Shadows. The Abyss. Doom. I don't trust this guy as far as I can throw him, and judging by his stout build, it's not too far. Coming in at number 4, we've got Poor Dad. This seems to be a recurring theme in children's drawings, eh? Their poor dad in positions less than enviable. Last time we saw a kid chopping off their father's head while smiling. That was grim. This time, we see a group effort and possibly even a kidnapping/hostage scenario. Has Stockholm Syndrome set in yet? I doubt we get a straight answer even if we asked. Lots of creepy details to peruse here, that's for sure. First and foremost, let's really take in the piece as a whole. This one is digital art, which is a new direction for whatever child artist put this together. I'm used to seeing stuff done up in crayon, scratchy pencil, maybe the occasional ballpoint pen and cheap acrylic. But here we've had a parent sit their kid down in front of a device to sketch it out. The kid is asking their mom why can't they see dad's face, which is a valid question when your father is over here with a bag over his head and a rope around his neck. Something seems to be off about his hands too, I just can't put my finger on it. The longer you look, the more odd details stand out, like is the dad a scarecrow? Why does mom only have one eye? What's the kid reading about? The sun and the moon? Seems a little witchy to me. Why is that cat levitating far above everyone's heads? I'm gonna go ahead and say that mama over here did away with dad and decided to perform some rituals to possibly bring a demon back in his place. Whether or not these worked out in the end is totally ambiguous, so this could be mid-ritual where the scarecrow on a noose is just a placeholder, or it could be far after the failure, in which case there's just a corpse in their house awaiting a demon that's probably not coming. What a vivid image. Coming in at number 3, we've got The Other Me. Some big Coraline vibes on this one. We're back to traditional media here. It looks like pencil on paper. The sheet is a little ripped at the bottom though. Hopefully we're not missing any extra spooky details that will irreversibly alter the plot once discovered crumpled up in a wastebasket. In the meantime, let's look closely at these 2 lovely individuals, each with messy hair and what can only be described as dark and crazy eyes. I'm thinking there's some button business happening here. You know the ones. We're all familiar with the other mother, right? Which makes this image a whole lot scarier than it is at first glance, which is pretty wild because it is scary at first glance. We've got 2 figures here, one more humanoid than the other. On the right, you can see an entity with 11 arms, 4 legs, and a gaping, possibly beaked maw. Our left standing figure is floating in midair though, which is also cause for concern. I think there are a couple ways to analyze this. One is that the figure on the left is a self-portrait by this kid, one where they see themselves as having the same eerie eyes as their companion. This could mean that their friend here is from whatever Coraline door universe may exist and is trying to lure her in and alter her. It could also be a drawing of two different creatures that approach the child. No self-portrait at all. I'm not sure which is preferable, so for now I'm gonna go with neither. Coming in number 2, we've got the big green guy. Well, hopefully Rapunzel's doing okay in there. There are 3 checks that ensure that she is, but I'm not so sure I trust that. Here's an interesting take on a classic fairy tale. Instead of being trapped in a tower or falling upon a big brambly bush, Rapunzel has been eaten by a big green guy. However, she's doing just fine. See? You can see all of her blonde hair in that stomach, and the artist assures us that she's okay. But this green guy scares the daylights out of me. I could see this monster fitting in with all sorts of horrid beasts from across fantasy media. Eating someone is one thing, but swallowing them whole and keeping them alive in your cavernous guts? That's a raunchy way to keep a prisoner, wouldn't you say? I can't imagine it'd be too comfortable either. Is she waiting to be slowly digested? Or is it a permanent prison of sorts meant to transport her from A to B in one piece? Or maybe this guy is just cruel and eats people just to leave them there forever. I mean, she'd run out of food and water eventually, right? Maybe I'm looking too far into the logistics of this, but this is definitely a demon I would avoid at all costs. I wonder what the kid's drawing now. And at number 1, we've got Tonso. Red paint in the hands of a child always has a way of looking like blood, right? Their brush strokes aren't too delicate, and any painting outside the line ends up being pretty unsettling. And this guy, Tonso? Yeah, he's a red paint nightmare and a half. All done up in red with some speckles of blue throughout. I'm not entirely sure how to describe the way this thing looks. It's a towering figure with an eerie grin and seems to be carrying a sword? Maybe it's a club or a bag full of something. Tonso is quasi-human at best and gives off some excellent Uncanny Valley vibes. Now, the form of this figure is one thing, but the backstory makes it even scarier. According to the young artist, Tonso is an ancestor and comes through the mirror to visit us. If I were a parent and heard that, I'd be checking behind each and every mirror in my house. And if there were no crawl spaces, I'd be painting the mirrors black from then on. That is some Candyman bullshit right there, and I'm taking 0 chances. The ancestor bit is extra creepy too. Like, where'd the kid get that idea? Do I want to know? Keep a close eye on any children creating art near you. If you're not careful, they could end up accidentally summoning something, or maybe you'll miss a key warning that a demon is coming to eat your family. Sheesh. So, what'd you think of the list? Were the drawings sufficiently creepy? What is the scariest thing you've ever seen a kid draw? Did you draw creepy stuff when you were younger? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more erudite ones from the top 5 scary angels you should never summon, part 4. Michelle Wilt says, I mean, technically all demons are angels. I mean, is that true? I feel like we need to delve a little deeper there. RK7 says, don't summon angels, don't summon demons, summon Keegan for the next top 5, please. I mean, I'm here, so it must have worked. Stephen Calcom says, the very concept of summoning an angel or demon is like giving a toddler a lit sparkler while they're standing in a lake of gasoline. I mean, you're the one who lit the sparkler. Tell me more about this lake of gas, though. I've got a business proposal for you. And Hugh Green says, did you make fun of chills at the end? Lol, I peeped that. I would never make fun of chills. That would just be silly and unprofessional. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna do some water skiing on that gasoline lake we talked about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.